Okay, so fair warning, we've started the recording, and I'd like to welcome you to our January 2022 virtual quality talk. I'm still getting used to saying 2022, as I'm sure the rest of you are as well. We're continuing to use D2L's corporate Zoom account, so thanks again to them for that. If you don't already and you're a Twitter user, you can find us on there. I get all the latest news and updates at KWSQA. We've got one change to announce to our KWSQA Board of Directors as a result of the election that we held end of November, early December, I guess. And so welcome to Lee Mancher, who is now on our Board of Directors. Looking ahead to the next couple of months, we have our February and March talks all planned out for you. So mark your calendars and hopefully you can join us for these topics as well. If you've got an idea for a presentation that you'd like to share with us at this virtual series, then definitely let us know. We'd like to hear from you through our CFP form, which you can find on our website. Another way you can get involved with our organization is through hosting of virtual testing games with us. And if you're not sure what that is, or you'd like to find out more, or you think that your company would be a good candidate, then again, please visit our website. And we have a form you can fill out where you can let us know a little bit more about your organization and your goals. We are going to offer these sustaining memberships again in 2022. They were new in 2021. Again, they'll be at a cost of $20 and you can buy them on our website. The reason to buy these memberships, if you choose to do so, would be just to generally support our organization. It's not required to be a member to join these meetings. They are free and open, but yeah, if you just wanted to help us out, well, we don't really have much of a revenue stream. And also, if you're interested in either running in our board of directors election this coming year or being eligible to vote in the election, then that's another reason that you'll need a membership. So again, available from our website at a cost of $20. As always, we like to share a reminder about our code of conduct. If you have any questions at all about the code of conduct or you need to report any incidents, please do get in touch. We can be reached at info@kwsqa.org, or you can find an individual board member to reach out to if you prefer. We'd also like to take a moment to make note of the fact that our KWSQA head office is located on the Haldeman Tract, which is land that was promised to the Haudenosaunee people of the 6 nations of the Grand River. And it's also within the traditional territories of the neutral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples. And we'd just like to say that we feel very privileged to be able to live and work and build our software quality community in such a great region. So for today, our presentation format is going to be sort of a pre-recorded way of doing things. And you might have seen us do this a couple times before last year, but so we're going to play a video of Laveena's talk, but Laveena is here on the call. And so the neat thing about the pre-recorded format is that she can chat live with you via text in the Zoom chat while the video is playing. So if you think of a question while you're watching the video, then feel free to type it into the chat and Laveena can respond in real time. But we'll also have sort of a more traditional Q&A at the end of the video as well, if you want to like speak your question out loud, or you want to wait and see if maybe your question is answered later in the presentation. There will also be time afterwards for sort of an additional Q&A period. And then finally, after the meeting has ended, you'll receive an invitation to a feedback survey just to answer a few questions about how your experience was today at the meeting. And if you complete this feedback survey, you will have a chance to win a $50 Amazon gift card. You'll get one entry per survey that you complete. So if you come to these meetings frequently and you complete a survey each time, you'll have multiple entries. While we're on this topic, I'll just give a quick shout out to our 2021 feedback survey winner. It was Annette Brown. So congrats, Annette. We've already connected to send her gift card. Yeah, I think that is all I have to say other than introducing our speaker. Just before starting the call here, I was looking back on when Laveena came to present at this meeting series last year. And for some reason, it felt more recent to me, but it was actually last April. And it's crazy how the time flies. Last April, Laveena had shared some of her thoughts on how to approach testing within kind of a data science context. And today she's got a different topic for us, and it's more around bringing an accessibility mindset into the work that you're doing as a team and as testers. So very much looking forward to hearing more on that topic. So yeah, I guess I'll turn it over to Graham to start the video playback, unless there's anything else you want to add, Laveena, before we kick that off.
That's all good. Thank you very much, KWSQA.
All right.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to my talk on how to bring accessibility into your teams. Before we start the session, I'd like to give some background information to you about myself. I've been testing in the industry for over 8 years now. I've studied computer science. I'm a blogger, an active speaker, host as well now, and I'm a trainer at the Coders Guild. And I'm currently working at Deloitte. Today's table of contents. So I've divided my session today in 3 different parts. First part being some background information of how I got into accessibility and why accessibility is important and the benefits. Part 2 will be around how did I bring accessibility to the team? What did I do? How to coach your teams? And part 3 would be around when to do accessibility and some tips for you to take away. Before we start the session, I really like this quote by Tim Berners-Lee. The power of the web is in its universality. Access by everyone, regardless of disability, is an essential aspect. So off we start from part 1, which is some background information. So did you know there are these numbers of disabled people around the world who are working? So I could find information around 4 continents. There was Australia, as you can see, 400,000 who are disabled and working. India, 0.1 million. We've got the UK, 4.1 million. And we've got Canada, over 18 million. So it's just around things we need to think. So if we did not know about this, then sometimes it makes it difficult for us to think further about this. So if we have these kind of details in hand, then it makes us think more around accessibility, and it makes an impact as well. So these numbers actually really shocked me, and it made me think, are we making it accessible for them? For individuals without a disability, technology makes things easier. For individuals with a disability, technology makes things possible. Now, I was speaking to AD the other day, and we were just talking around accessibility, and he said our glasses, so currently I'm wearing contact lenses to be able to record this and look nice, but usually I wear glasses as well. These are my assisted technology. So they help me see things that are far out. I can't see things, I can see things which are closer, but I can't see far out. So if I were to do some online shopping, I'd have to have my phone screen up close to my eyes, or I'd have to have the laptop screen so close, but glasses definitely help. Basically, in a nutshell, things become easier and things become really possible, not just for those who don't have a disability, but with those who have a disability as well. So how did I come across accessibility as a tester? So I was working for a very well-known bank where we were trying to create an open banking system, and we were releasing quite often, and the product was going live, so any of us could be using it. Now, my lead came that day really shocked and started asking to me, have we done accessibility? Have we done accessibility? And I was thinking to myself, what even is accessibility? And I'm talking around 4 or 5 years ago. So I was a bit confused and puzzled as to what have I done wrong? And she then explained that we need to cater the website for everyone, whether it's someone who can't see 100% visually, or who can't access a keyboard, or has some sort of disability but can work. And I started doing some research, and that's how accessibility got stuck into my head, that kind of situation. So why did I think of this topic? So I thought of this topic because I feel like it's important to introduce these kind of testing into your teams. Accessibility is something that a lot of us get put off from the team because of budget issues or any kind of other priorities that take place. But we need to change this norm. And I thought it would be nice to introduce to all of you how I introduced accessibility to my team, just for you to kind of understand that it is not very difficult, but it's how willing we are to do it this way as well. And it's really important. That's the main aspect of this talk. It's important to do this. And for those who are still new in testing or just learning around testing, are you aware of accessibility? Have you heard around this before? So this is something for you to actually take away with you. Some useful resources and advocates that I follow and who I look up to as well include some of the following names. So we've got Viv Richards, not the cricketer. We've got Adi Stokes. We've got Lisandra Armas Aguila, and we've got Suman Bala as well. So if you're interested into accessibility, feel free to connect with us, talk to us, or even add us on Twitter or LinkedIn, and look at our blogs or any kind of materials that we have already out there. So why is accessibility important? So first of all, accessibility is more around building a community. It's a relationship you build with the community to make sure that everyone can access a product or an application. It is smart. Business-wise, if you take up on accessibility, it's a smart move. And we'll learn why it's smart. Innovation. It drives innovation because some firms that are not thinking around accessibility versus those that are thinking around accessibility, people will be more keen to try the application that is accessible and easier to use. Branding. It helps enhance your brand because you've picked up all the kind of possible things to reach out to all the community out there and make sure everyone is involved. It helps you extend your market research. You're not just researching on people who do not have disabilities and are working. It actually makes you think about them and see how I can enhance my product so that not just I can use it, but everyone else can use it as well. And legalities. It minimizes legal risk. Sometimes I tend to say, manage your legalities now before your legalities catch you later on. So in a way, it's a very smart kind of step for you to take. Some of the benefits of accessibility includes reaching a wider audience. Why wouldn't we reach a wider audience? It's important to. It increases usability. Obviously, more people will be using our application. It satisfies current and future legal requirements and ethics. So all those kind of dependencies are cut off and no one's chasing you, and improves maintainability and efficiency. I wanted to show you this video and then give you a talk about this first. So what did we learn from this video? I was working on the house and doing a bit of construction, and I entered the door with the door handle so I could enter. However, how do I get out? So I'm basically trapped inside a room thanks to the glove, and I had longer nails inside those gloves that I could open the door and get out. But this analogy reminds me of traps we have on our websites and applications these days. You can be trapped sometimes with a keyboard, just a keyboard trap. What do we do then? We are quite frustrated, and we are more keen to using another application that's easier for these kind of situations. It's more accessible, and it's catered all of the things that we need when we are actually trying to use an application. So I thought this was a really, really interesting analogy, and I thought it would be worth showing you. Also, many websites tend to say that they are accessible, but they're not really. For example, the alt text, for instance, they say that they're accessible, but they're not. So we need to bear in mind and try and stay as accessible as possible. Part 2. How did I bring accessibility to the team? So my steps were to bring some awareness. So I started chatting about accessibility in coffee rooms, just chatting to developers, delivery leads, and see what their thoughts are initially. Then I thought, let me put all the information that I have in my head and do some research and put it all into an informative slide, and make sure that I add all the important points that I want to kind of make. Communication. So this is something that is super, super important. Sometimes what we have in our head is not what we actually say when we are talking. So it's important that we try and convey the important message here. So I had to work on myself for what I want to convey. So make sure to convey the message right. And one thing that I learned actually from the Coders Guild communication session with Scott a few weeks ago was the greatest problem with communication is the illusion that it has been accomplished. So how do we know we have kind of delivered the right message or not? So we have to try and give the information so that we can leave this information to digest with all the individuals who are present there. So have all your important points ready, and don't try to derail into other things or other tangents. Speak to individuals and teams. So I approached the head of technology first to see what he thinks. And I showed him my slides, and he was quite keen around this. Then I showed my slides to the UX team, and then I finally presented it to my entire team. It helped me also do further research as to if this is my application and I'm doing a little bit of research on it. I'm doing a bit of exploratory testing with the main aim being accessibility. What kind of options could I suggest as well? So could I, if I'm seeing that I can only scroll horizontally, is that accessible enough, or should we have a vertical option? So these things start becoming clear. The color combinations, for example, as well, those are important. Are we using the right contrasts? So there's a really good website called Components AI, which are really good with themes. So you can actually research on there. It's called components.ai. And then what I did was I created a report I started with a draft report of what I want to test and what areas I've captured in my report. And I created this report with some suggestions at the bottom. So I added all the tools that I'm using, the screens that I've tested, some suggestions as well to take away, so that if I'm giving this to the UX kind of designer, then they have everything handy with them. Also, the aim is to shift left with accessibility. So spot any accessibility issues on designs, assess the screens. So if there's too much information or not on some screens, for example, and then bring it down to a user story level. So that's when you know you've achieved delivering that information and the communication section has gone really well. So yeah. Team coaching. So what do? I deliver information. I become a subject matter expert or an advocate for accessibility. But delivering information, we also have to make sure that we are delivering the right information and it's being digested the way we want it to be. Another question that I always have, how do I convince? Because sometimes I can just keep talking and talking and talking, but how do I know I've actually convinced individuals? So by explaining accessibility and making sure I deliver the vital details, making sure that they know that if we are not doing accessibility, what can be a potential problem in the future? For example, the legalities could be a problem. So why not capture this earlier? How to back my point? So this is where the convincing bit comes in as well. So I can take some outputs of my research or report and show them to the team. And this is another way to convince the team as well. So this is what I've done, and this is what I suggest. What do you think? And how do I know they understand? So of course, I said we have to work on our communication skills and make sure we deliver the right information and that it can be digested. So things that we need to think is what information they understand or find as blockers so that it can build a healthy discussion and we can solve these blockers as well. Part 3, when or how to do accessibility testing. So this is something that I had a conversation, I think a few months ago with a manager, and the manager got back to me based on our product saying that we are B2B, we are not B2C. So we do not need to spend a lot of time doing accessibility on a B2B product. That actually puzzled me. I had loads of question marks in my head. And when I was speaking to Viv as well, he said that he did an accessibility report for a friend for his and it was around some driving insurance. And he provided that report to the friend. And then that person who he kind of handed the report to, they turned around and said that we are not going to potentially look into this accessibility issues because someone who's blind might not use this. Now, this is really touchy for me. I felt a bit upset listening to this. Why are we discriminating? Why are we creating groups of people? We should always aim to reach out to as many people as possible without saying, without thinking that someone might have some optical issue, someone might have some issue in their hand. They might not be able to use a mouse track or a keyboard. They might just be dependent on screen readers, but they can deliver their work as well at the same time. So why do we think like that? This is a thing for you to take home and think, why is it like that? Why can't we change this kind of thought process? Why can't we upgrade and reach everyone? Also, yeah, I think I'm going to go to the next slide. So when do we start accessibility testing? I think the best time to start is as soon as possible. Design and planning sessions are the best actually, because when a feature comes in, you can actually pinpoint the discussion and say, have we thought about accessibility? If it's a front end kind of feature, are we bearing in mind the color contrast we are using, the type of buttons we have, ARIA labels, and so on and so forth. So I think design and planning would be the best stage to start. And any requirements that come through, any new requirements that come through in your teams would be important to check if they require any accessibility enhancements on it or not. And as I said, I would definitely suggest start as early as possible, because catch your legalities before they catch you. And then it becomes expensive as well. And then at that point you think, why did I not think about this before? So bear these things in mind. Oh, also, make sure your services reach everyone, not only some. That's very important. So that's why we are doing this. The good old budget. Every time that I get excited, and I think many testers are excited and motivated to bring testing techniques into their teams, I walk 2 steps, but I get pushed 5 steps behind. Why? Because of the good old budget. So I think we can brush up the budget for this kind of topic, because would you rather risk it? I wouldn't risk it, really. I rather my product has a good reputation at the very start itself, and I would make sure that I am capturing everyone, not only some people. You also want to reach more people. Why not? Why is your application just designed for a certain amount of people? There are free tools available, by the way. All the testing that I've done is all free tools. I've paid not even a single penny, or I've not made the team pay a single penny. Also, massive amount of accessibility testing is on is done manually. So even if automation can be a bit extensive and it takes time to maintain it, we can build small. We don't have to automate these things right away. We can spend more time doing manual accessibility checks. And I think it is very important to do accessibility, because we are basically socially aware. We are capturing everyone to use our product, and we're not leaving anyone out. And sooner or later, you'll have to think about this. So why are we not thinking about this now? Also, I think the budget chats are a bit of a false economy. The cost of not doing it will be more later rather than doing it now. So I think it's important we start thinking like this rather than get put off by budget talks. And you can definitely suggest to your team about all these free tools, then they don't need to worry about other budgets. And if there are other important pressing points that take priority, of course, spend time on that. But don't forget about accessibility. You've basically put a seed into your team. Let it grow, let the flower come out. So make sure that accessibility is there. Make sure it's part of your test strategy. So a question of what to include actually in my accessibility report. What kind of report should I have? I basically had a very basic report that I started writing on a Word document. You can even add it onto a wiki page. It's your choice. You can have it as simple or as fancy as possible. It's all up to you. So in my report, I mentioned the areas I would concentrate on when reporting this accessibility on the application I'm testing. The results, I would share the results of what my tools suggested, if we are good accessibility-wise or we are lacking in some areas. And then some suggestions, if possible, provide with some suggestions that you think would help the team. Sometimes with the UX designers, a little bit of like discussion or some sort of suggestions help build a bit better of a report with them as well. So I think it's nice not just to report things, but also to suggest that, have you thought about this? What if we change a horizontal scrolling to a vertical scrolling? It would be much more better and more accessible, and give the reasoning behind it and some sort of pointers of why. So these things actually help designers, your team, because they get a better understanding. And at the same time, you've done some research too. So you are gaining some knowledge as well as a tester. Other things that I would definitely suggest for you to add into your report is like a checklist. So I'm going to go over this checklist and yeah, some things for you to think about as well. So my checklist is a bit long, but I will try and be a bit speedy. What conformance level are you working towards? If I remove images from the page for lower bandwidth, which many people like to do, they don't like to work with higher bandwidth sometimes for certain reasons. Can I still use my application? The labels, are they correctly written and placed or not? Are the labels following the given structure? The audio or video content, is it properly audible or visible? The color contrast ratio is maintained or not? Can I tab through my content? The colors being used on the user interface, are they accessible? If the link text is written with content description instead of creating ambiguity, if a meaningful multimedia caption is provided or not, if the instructions are clearly given or not, are the error messages informative or not, and if the content is clear, concise, and understandable or not. So that was my list. But obviously you can have your own personal list. This is just something for you to take away with you. And what does this leave me with? My results basically is that I become an advocate, I become a subject matter expert, and I'm spreading more eminence. Also, I feel accomplished because team members approach me, UX designers approach to me, and they ask me for my report, and they want for me to be part of discussions, important discussions around design. And they keep you in loop. So you feel really, really happy that that seed that I put initially, that is now blooming, that is becoming a flower. So you feel good at the end of the day. And just like that, I think if you follow these steps, you'll feel good as well. So follow my steps. So first of all, important, do your research. What is accessibility and how your team could benefit from it. Then have some details to showcase. Do a show and tell session of the tools you're using and how is that helping the team. Then you prepare an informative session. So discuss with your team of the pointers you have, and back it up, convince them with all the kind of research you've done, results you have from your reports, and have accessibility as part of your testing approach. What do we become after that? We are alified. So yeah, follow my steps. Some quick checks and tips that you can do right away is some plugins that you can download. And that's the Arc Toolkit, Axe, Wave, Lighthouse. Remove some stylings to see if your application still looks all right, and screen readers. You can always also try to do some throttling to check how your application behaves in a lower bandwidth rather than a higher bandwidth area. You can add emulation to check around blurred vision, how your application would look for someone who has a blurred vision, or Tritanotopia. You can check these kind of things. And also a very easy check is to use your developer tools on any kind of colors on your screen and check if the standards are met in terms of the contrast ratio and the single A, double A, or triple A standards of your project. So you need to first understand what standards you're following and check on the application if these standards are fulfilled or not. So these are some freebies we have out there. So why are we thinking about spending a lot of more money? So we can tell them, we can tell our team members we have free tools. We don't need to worry a lot around budget if they're thinking that we might have to buy certain applications to do this kind of testing. So 4 principles of accessible content. I love this image a lot. So is it perceivable? Can I perceive it? Is it operable? Can I really use it? If I have an injured arm, for example. Is it understandable? Can I grasp it? Can I understand it or not? Is it easy? The help tooltips, are they helping me, or are they making me stuck on this application? And is it robust enough? Can I really access it anywhere? So it's important to think of these kind of things. And if we take all four, then again, we are alified. Another really interesting video. This is from Gavin. I think me and Adi were speaking earlier this week, and he suggested, Gavin mentioned something at, I think it was Test Bash Manchester, can't remember, but he suggested something, and I'm going to tell you what after you watch this little quick video. So basically, I'm trying to make a blueberry mug muffin. Okay, so my muffin's ready, but why am I adding the blueberries at the end? Why didn't I add them initially? So this is what accessibility is about. It's not the same when you do it afterwards. So think and plan early, then no need to worry. I think that kind of rhymes as well. So yeah, that was that. So a little summary for you for today's session. Understand accessibility. I showed you how to introduce this to your respective teams, how to convince them. Things that you can do. Things you can do your research, you can do your reports, you can have results, you can give suggestions, you can obviously put a seed in and make sure it grows. And some useful tips and tools that I just suggested earlier for you to take away. So thank you very, very much. I hope you liked my session. I hope you took a lot of this important information, and I look forward to hearing from you. And then at the end, how did you bring accessibility to your teams? So thank you very, very much. Feel free to add me on LinkedIn or Twitter, and we can have further discussions. And don't forget, also add the advocates that I had mentioned earlier in this session. So you have Adi Stokes, you've got Viv Richards, you've got Suman Bala, and Lisandra Armas Aguila. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, actually, maybe having those names written down in the chat could be useful too, just in case people need to look up spelling or that kind of thing. But definitely appreciate the offer to connect directly with you and your colleagues. That's nice. I will say that I just learned that you can make a muffin in a mug. I have not done that, but maybe I should. But I will add the blueberries at the beginning. Looks like I had been typing a few questions in while the video was playing, but I think you got to them all.
Yes, I was just
one more has come in.
Yeah, Marco's question. There's a really, really interesting book, actually two of them, The Design of Everyday Things by Donald A. Norman. That's really something that all accessibility, UI designers, testers tend to read a lot. And then Don't Make Me Think Revisited, which is by Steve Krug. These are the two kind of books that are quite famous out there. I would suggest you to maybe skim over them, or just some people actually review it on YouTube as well, so you could have a look at that. But The Design of Everyday Things is the one that actually gives you that kind of thinking process, the cognitive process of how we should actually design our apps. I would definitely suggest stay in touch with your UX designers, UI designers, collaborate as much as possible with them, and try and have a process within your team and part of your test strategy where if the designers are making a design, it comes to you first, you test it for accessibility and then revert back. Because what we're doing is we're capturing issues earlier on rather than taking through to front-end development and all of that. So that's what I would suggest. I hope, Marco, that helped with your question. Oh, the second book. The second book is called Don't Make Me Think by Steve Krug. And also you've got free tools on your developer tools. If you right click on headers or footers on any website, you will get the colors that you see on the website. Click on any color, you should be able to see AA, AAA compliant or single A, or not compliant at all. You'll see a massive cross. So that's when you know that something needs to be done. Best tools for screen readers, you've got NVDA, you've got JAWS, some of them are obviously paid for, but you've got free tools. If you're using a Windows machine, there's one with Windows screen readers, and if you're using a Mac, there's a Mac tool to read screens as well. So I would suggest start from there, and then if you want to go a bit more intense, maybe try and get licenses with NVDA, or sorry, JAWS probably, or NVDA, which is also free. And yeah, you can actually see blurred Protanotopia, Tritanotopia on your developer tools actually. So if you go onto my Medium website, I'll just send, sorry, my blogs, I'll just send you a link, because I've actually shown, I've written a blog with Viv, and I've actually shown everything there. So it will be much, much easier for you all to follow. So here is the link. And yeah, of course, it's important to understand labeling of your websites. Sometimes, you know, when you are developing a website, you might have a H1 and then jump straight to H3. You should have a H2 in between, then H3. That's the kind of the layer you should have. That's really interesting. And then ARIA labels are important to understand, standardizations. I would also suggest, if you can, go onto the government website, like in the UK, we've got gov.uk. They give us the accessibility minimum you should have on your website. I know that the US also has one. I would say compare both, or compare different countries and see how many of the other countries' things you can tick off versus your own country. And then this is a good way to analyze what you have and what could be improved. What do you suggest for French language accessibility, as JAWS don't do a complete job? I would suggest try and use the Windows screen reader and the MacBook. If you're using a MacBook, try those. If not, I haven't tried a lot with languages actually, but I'm sure Windows would do the job, or Mac screen readers. If not, try NVDA. Have you tried NVDA? I'm not sure the name. It's XG04 and 4800. I think. Yeah, I would suggest these things. So NVDA, Windows screen readers, and Mac screen readers. Try that. Yeah. I guess that's all the questions, Tina.
Yeah, anyone else have things they'd like to ask or share, or even your own experience with accessibility testing in your own team would be welcome too, if you just have a story or anything.
I think tools for mobile app accessibility, again, you can use all the tools that I mentioned in my presentation. You can definitely try and see with developer tools and see how you could see these kind of things like blurring on your mobile app. Also, you've got a screen reader on your mobile too, so try that as well, and see how that works.
All right, anybody else? Oh, looks like more coming in.
I've also got this actually. I was looking for that. Have a look at this. For mobile apps. There's loads of blogs here. Mobile Alley. And if you're unaware, what Alley means is accessibility from the letter from A to Y. There's 11 characters in between. So Alley. Shorter version.
It's a great question there about, you know, outside of just how to test for accessibility and tools and things, what about the upfront part? Like, is there any resources or guidance that you might be able to point people to when they're trying to talk about accessibility during the requirements stage?
Yes, I think the best thing is to obviously research first do your research of the product, try and explain the need of accessibility. That's what I did. That's where I started. I went up to the tech lead and I said, I've done some accessibility checks and it doesn't look good. They just suggested this is great, presented to the entire team, and let's get stuff on board. And then I spoke to the product owner. The product owner said, we need some tickets. Let's start with high priority tickets. And that's how things started coming in. I would suggest in your test strategy, make sure you write a section around accessibility. If you have a front-end app, it has to be in your test strategy. Whether it's still building, if it's still building, wait for it. If it's a stabilized application already, then try testing on it, try and see where the flaws are. Report it within your team, have talks, have lunch and learns, teach your team, educate them about all of this, and then basically start writing the scope in your test strategy of what we are going to pick up as accessibility issues, what can we avoid, like what are low priorities, what are high priorities, and what are medium priorities, and then make a plan within your team of how you're going to go on about that. That's what I would suggest.
Yeah, I guess if you're writing down in your test strategy the kinds of things you'll be looking for, then that will naturally lead to additional things to put in the requirements, right?
Exactly. And just state all the tools you have. If you feel like the free tools are not helping, you could do with another tool that is paid for, that maybe a colleague of yours mentioned to you at your previous workplace or somewhere else. Bring the value of it, show it to your team. What's the value behind it? Why can't we use free tools? Because there's sometimes teams will say that we don't have the budget, try and use the free tools. But if you've like used the free tools so much and then you can't find anything, and maybe a friend or someone in the testing community suggests use this one, but it's got a license, see if you can make a business case for it and bring it. I've got another question from Marco. What do you see in the next 5 years of optimizing voiceover for the visually impaired in terms of type of voice used, speed, and what text highlighted, copied is read without cost? I think obviously some tools are costly, they're not free, but I've seen that with time things are improving. Windows voiceovers are improving. I remember 3-4 years ago when I was using NVDA for the first time for a banking app, it was different to when I use it now. So I think optimization is always there. I see Axe updates quite a bit. So yeah, these things are updating a lot. And also back in the day, Axe was not part of automation. Now you can automate Axe as well with Cypress. So things are evolving, things are getting enhanced. So I would just say keep a watch out there, follow the people who are within accessibility. I'll mention some names here. Marie Drake, Eden Stokes. These are some of the big names out there, and also Lisandra. I would definitely suggest follow them. They do post a lot about accessibility and it's the right direction to go, basically.
Okay, anyone else? We still have a little bit of time if there are other topics you'd like to cover or ask about. Otherwise, I think there's been a lot to learn here, and thank you so much for sharing all of your experiences and suggestions. Really great to have you back at the KWSQA.
Thank you very, very much. Hopefully back soon again.
Yeah, okay. All right. Thanks everyone for coming as well. It's great to see you, or at least see your name on the screen. We appreciate your support. All right. Hope to see you again next month, everybody, and have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Thank you very, very much. Bye-bye.